Ladies and gents, welcome to UX, and this is Marine captures over 1,000 POWs. The Pied Piper of Saipan. Saipan. I don't know. Guy Gabaldon. Guy Gabaldon. Is that Italian? I don't know. Okay. Thank you for sharing my dad's story with such great accuracy. What? These guys. Ray Gabaldon. Oh my god, his son is in the comment. I love it. I'm grateful there are people still interested in this story. It's gonna be one of those stories like nobody knows about. I love that shit. Like Federation is the only channel who covers that. Previous video from Federation was basically that. How certain like veterans came back and helped the town. Basically this like starring The Rock type of thing, straight out of Hollywood. But it was apparently real, and even locally people didn't know much about it. Like that's some shit, right? Like when you don't even have local fame. So there are many stories which are so badass but people don't know about it. So let's watch this one.
We talked about Alvin York, one of America's most well-known and renowned war heroes. He earned the Medal of Honor in World War I when he captured 132 German POWs. Well, in World War II, a Marine set out to break his record, and he didn't just break it, he broke it by nearly a factor of 10, yet almost nobody knows his name. That's about to change. Today we're talking about Guy Gabaldon, aka the Pied Piper, and credited with 33 confirmed kills and capturing over 1,500 POWs. In medieval folklore, the Pied Piper is a man that comes to town with a magic flute. The town is infested with rats, and he says, if you pay me, I'll get rid of all the rats. The townspeople agreed. He then uses his magical flute to entrance all of the rats and guide them out of town. Upon returning back to the town for his payment, they refuse to pay him, so he then uses his magical flute to lure away 130 children, and they're never seen again. As far as I can tell, it's some kind of cautionary tale, essentially saying pay your bills or somebody's gonna kidnap your kids, but
yeah, that would. Okay, I got rid of the rats for you, but if you don't pay me, your children's are mine. What? Like this, like old Disney style cartoon, right? Like I'm pretty sure there's like Thomas the Tank Engine episode. The Thomas did something bad, and they literally walled him in. They built a wall, cement wall in front of him, as you do.
whatever, it's not important because we're talking about the Pied Piper of Saipan, which is much different. Guy is not a mythical man with a magical flute. He is a 5'3" Marine of Hispanic descent that grew up with a Japanese family in East LA. He understands the Japanese culture, he understands their mindset, and most importantly, he can speak their language. With this deeper understanding of the Japanese than the average American, he goes behind enemy lines by himself and convinces them to surrender, saving both them and the Marines that they would inevitably kill in combat. It is one of the greatest and most dangerous humanitarian efforts ever undertaken by a single man, and we're going to get into all of it right after a word from our sponsor.
Hi, welcome to Antique Roadshow. I am the historian appraiser. What do you have for me today?
Well, my grandfather fought in World War II, and he just recently passed, and I found something odd in the sock drawer.
Hey, you found little boy in his sock drawer?
You know what I found.
Well, that's little boy.
So can you tell me what it's worth?
Yeah. Can I get a price check on the entire city of Tokyo?
All right, here's the deal. Super simple, straightforward business model. You give them money, they turn around and make sure the data brokers on the internet aren't selling your personal information. What does that even mean? Okay, here's the entire internet and every free service on the planet inside of a nutshell, okay? There's the saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. What that means is pretty much anything on the internet that you use, that's a service, whether that be Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat.
That's the truest shit of all time. Like, nothing's for free, man. Come on, what the fuck? Like, people see like the Dirtly shows or something they put on channel, like, oh, there was so many ads, like they were a little show. Yeah, because it's on YouTube. Otherwise you have to go watch on Peacock or Netflix or some shit. Yeah, well, go to original video page link and from there support this channel.
All of the free stuff on the internet, which I think is absolutely worth it. If you want to check them out, I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, our story begins on March 22nd, 1926. Guy Gabaldon is born. He is one of 7 kids, and he grew up during the Great Depression. Great Depression starts in 1929, goes till 1939. Pretty much his entire childhood takes place during the Great Depression in East LA. Like pretty much every other World War II hero we talk about, he grew up dirt poor, made him tough as nails. We're not gonna waste a bunch of time on it. What's unique about Guy is that he actually grew up going out and shining shoes at the age of like 7 through 10 on Skid Row. And just so we're all on the same page, Skid Row in the 1930s, much different than Skid Row now, okay? It wasn't full of a bunch of people that were suffering from drug problems and like rampant drug abuse. It was a bunch of people that had just genuinely lost everything in the Great Depression. These people living in tents were like former investment bankers, former businessmen that just truly lost everything, and now they were homeless. So it's still a wild place for a 10-year-old to be hanging out, but it wasn't like excessively dangerous like it is today. And over time, he kind of became like the mascot of Skid Row. Like, all the homeless people knew who he was. They were all friendly to him. The cops knew who he was. The cops were looking out for him. The local businesses all knew him. He was going door to door on local businesses, shining shoes. Half the time he was literally sleeping in a bar near Skid Row because they knew him, and he would shine shoes all night long. As time went on, he got involved with a gang called the Mo Gang. He started getting more and more into a life of crime, and his family stepped in and they sent him to live in New Mexico with his grandfather to help straighten him out.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa. That's too damn bad!
And his grandfather is like nothing he'd ever seen before. He grew up in LA hanging out on Skid Row. His grandfather was born in the mid-1800s and had done real cowboy shit, lived in New Mexico his entire life, carried a revolver on his hip, and kept a loaded shotgun by the front door. And Grandpa is kind of offended that his grandson doesn't speak Spanish and has no idea about the heritage that he comes from. So Grandpa teaches him both how to speak Spanish and tells him all about his heritage. He's a descendant of the conquistadors. And as time goes on, that's exactly what happened. Guy starts taking a ton of pride in his heritage, and he doesn't want to go hang out on Skid Row and be involved in crime anymore. He wants to be an upstanding citizen and accomplish great things. He ends up coming back home to East LA when he's about 12 years old, and he decides that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to put his best foot forward. He's going to school. He's trying. He's putting in an effort. And that's when he kind of takes notice to other people around him. And there's this Japanese family, and the Japanese people that he's met just seem to excel at absolutely everything. The kids do great in school. The parents were first-generation immigrants that came to America with nothing, and now they're all business owners and upstanding members of the community, and Guy decides that that's who he's going to start associating with more. He ends up becoming really close friends with the Nakano family and ultimately ends up moving in with them for a number of years, not because he has like issues with his mother and his siblings, but it's the Great Depression. They've got 7 kids. It's a lot of mouths to feed. There's not a lot of money going around, and this wealthy Japanese family was willing to take him in, feed him, give him everything he needed to succeed and excel at school, and that's just what ended up happening. During his time with the Nakano family, Guy wanted to know absolutely everything about the Japanese culture. He was obsessed with samurai and the Bushido code of honor. He learned about Japanese history. He ended up learning how to speak Japanese.
Yeah, he was earlier than all of us who wants to learn everything about manga and anime. Yeah, he was much earlier.
Not in the formal, I'm gonna sit down in a classroom setting, this word means that word, and that word means this word. No, he was just immersed in Japanese speaking, so he could speak it fluently like a normal Japanese person. And this goes on for years. It's great. It's the time of Guy's life. And then when he's 15 years old, Pearl Harbor happens. Shortly after.
Yeah, if you want to learn a language, if you learn the culture and like feel the culture, it's much easier to like actually know like how to speak like words of that language and what it means. It's better than a just spoken language, like how you learn words and shit. Yeah, I never learned English that spoken way, right? People like sometimes get surprised like how I speak English. Yeah, I don't speak like how some Indian with a spoken class would speak it, because I learned through the culture. From early on, like I'll listen to more Eminem than I'll listen to any Indian songs and shit like that. So from early on, like I was more immersed to the culture and everything. There was a time where I knew more about like American culture than my own fucking culture, like when I was a kid. So yeah, it matters how you analyze that.
After that, FDR issues Executive Order 9066, essentially stripping all Japanese Americans of all of their rights. And then his family, the Nakano family, is forced to leave behind their businesses, their homes, everything they have, and go into a concentration camp. And Guy absolutely hates this. It ruins his entire life. He's resentful of all the Americans around him that are too stupid to understand that the Nakano family and all the other great Japanese Americans aren't Japanese. They're American, just like everybody else. And he absolutely hates the Imperial Japanese for attacking America and creating this entire situation. On top of that, his older brother was in the United States Navy and he was at Pearl Harbor during the attack. Thankfully, he survived, but the Japanese tried to kill his brother too, just adding further insult and anger to that injury. But he's 15. There's absolutely nothing he can do about it. He's not going to be allowed to join the military for another 2 years, so he just bides his time. He ends up getting into a little bit of trouble. He gets a motorcycle, which is like the only joy he has is riding his motorcycle around town, and he just waits for 2 years to pass so he can go off to war and take his aggression out on the Japanese. And during this 2 years, Guy's paying attention to the news. In the first couple of years for the Pacific War, America going to war against the Japanese, it was not going good for America. Really, the only silver lining that America had was its submarine fleet. The submarines were going out and taking the fight to the Japanese, and they were winning with incredible stories like Dudley Mush-Morton and the USS Wahoo. Seeing this, it became what Guy wanted to do. He wanted to go serve in the Navy on a submarine and take the fight to the Japanese to get his revenge for ruining his life. So on his 17th birthday, he goes straight to the Navy recruiter. First off, he's too short. You got to be 5'4". He's 5'3 3/4". He's like, I'm trying to serve on a submarine. Okay, but how tall I am shouldn't matter. Honestly, the smaller the better. I'm saving room for other people. And they're like, fucking hop up on your tippy toes, Guy. Okay, so he gets up. Okay, you're 5'4". Great, wonderful. He goes through the medical exam. Oh my God, you have a perforated eardrum. You're not going to be allowed to serve in the US Navy. And the doctor thinks he's doing Guy a solid. He thinks he's giving Guy good news. And he's like, relax, son. You're not going to have to go off to war. We can't take you with this perforated eardrum. But that's not the case. Guy wants to go to war. He's immediately pissed off. So he starts arguing with the doctor and the recruiter. And they're like, look, son, we've already overlooked your height. We can't overlook this perforated eardrum because when the guns go off, it could be a big problem. And he's like, I'm trying to serve on a submarine. What guns are going off inside of a submarine? Okay, if I hear a loud noise, I'm probably seconds away from dying anyways, and it's not gonna matter. Just let me go be on the sub so I can fight the Japanese. And they're like, sorry, can't do it. Fuck off.
I'm a peacock, Captain. You gotta let me fly on this one.
But Guy, he's not.
I think with the perforated ear, like I think the hums and certain static noises might be too much underwater. And not to mention the pressure and everything. So like, yeah, I mean, it's an issue under submarine, like if you have ear issues like that.
Taking no for an answer. So he walks right out the Navy recruiter, walks right next door to the Marine recruiter, goes in and is like, put me in, coach. Literally whatever you got. All I know is that the Navy and the Marines are the main guys fighting the Japanese right now, and I want to fight the Japanese. I'll do anything. Recruiter takes one look at him and is like, you're not tall enough, kick rocks. At which point, Guy has an idea. He remembers he read a couple of weeks ago that the Navy and the Marines and the military as a whole is having a humongous trouble finding Japanese interpreters because they've taken all the people that can speak Japanese and stuck them in concentration camps. They estimated that there was less than 100 Americans not of Japanese descent that could fluently speak Japanese at this point in time, and he's one of them. So he tells the recruiter, wait, I can speak Japanese.
What does katana mean? It means Japanese sword.
At this point, the recruiter's ears kind of perk up like, yep, okay, not many people know how to speak Japanese. If I can recruit this kid and get him into linguist school to be an interpreter, it'd make me look real good. I can fudge that paperwork. So he's like, okay, here's the deal. I'm willing to fudge this paperwork. Say you're a 1/4 inch taller so you can become a Marine, but I'm going to send you over to this building where there's a Marine linguist. You got to prove to him that you can actually speak Japanese. And if he says you can, I'll get you in. At this point, Guy's like, sweet, no problem. Goes over to the Marine linguist. Marine linguist is like, yep, dude speaks Japanese. Goes back to the recruiter, gets the paperwork signed. He's getting shipped off to basic. Then he's going to linguist school and he's going to be an interpreter.
Sure, that sounds fun. Arigato.
So Guy ships off to basic at 5'3", 126 pounds, and he's Hispanic. And at this point in time, the United States Marine Corps was 100% white by regulation and policy until 1941. So he's literally one of the first not white Marines ever, and he's a really small guy. So he gets made fun of and he gets a lot of shit. Some of it's for his size, a lot of it's for his race. It's really not that great of a time. He barely makes it through basic training, but he does. He graduates, he officially becomes a United States Marine. After graduating boot camp, he is given 30 days of leave before he has to report to linguist school, so he goes back home in his fancy new Marine dress uniform, and boy oh boy.
Resistance is really high when it comes to changes of any kind, doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. So if he's one of the very first one, like Federation says, it's surprising to me that he actually made it. Because the people who are actually measuring him would find any excuse to fail him, just because he's first, right? But I think because of his like Japanese translation thing, he became a VIP. Like, doesn't matter all the shit, like, yeah, he speaks Japanese, so let's not fail him. Otherwise, I can clearly see, like, people like, no, he's not making through. And people hating him already because he's not hating him, like, making fun of him, like, bullying him, shit like that.
Boy, is he a celebrity amongst the ladies. In his own words, and I quote, "The gals were very patriotic and were willing to show their love of their country by giving all for their servicemen. And I believed it was my solemn duty to help these girls show their patriotism." Well, homie's definitely a Marine. So 30 days of leave comes and goes. He reports to linguist school. He's there for about a month, and then he earns a weekend pass, and he is explicitly ordered not to return home. He can just go out in like the surrounding area and not get in a bunch of trouble. So naturally, Guy goes back home because he wants to help ladies, you know, show their patriotism some more.
And that's it.
While back home in East LA, he's hanging out with a bunch of hot Russian chicks. They're slamming vodka. He ends up getting into an altercation with a large Russian man who punches him and ends up breaking his jaw in 2 places. Ends up getting his jaw wired shut like he's 50 Cent, shows back up to linguist school with his jaw wired shut. And as I'm sure you can imagine, in linguist school, having your jaw wired shut is kind of a big deal, and he violated orders. So he gets kicked out of linguist school, sent back home until he's fully recovered, and then he's supposed to report back, and the Marine Corps is going to give him a new MOS. Doctor says it's going to take a
Wired shut. Like, the fuck? This is a linguist school. What are you gonna do here? Go back.
about 2 months to recover from this broken jaw, and the Marine doctor then looks him dead in the eyes and is like, Marine, do not go home and get drunk. Do not drink a bunch of alcohol. If you puke with your jaw wired shut, you will drown on your own puke. Do not drink alcohol.
Of course. Of course.
So he goes, spends the next 2 months having fun, drinking booze when he's not supposed to, reports back for duty. He's now at the whim of the United States Marine Corps. Just whatever they need, that's what they're going to assign him. It's World War II. He obviously gets stationed as infantry. So he goes off to infantry school, you learn the basics, and then after you've learned the basics, you get assigned to like a special type of weapon. You could be a rifleman, you could be a machine gunner, you could be a mortarman, and he gets put as a mortarman. And of course, he's the new guy, and he's here because he got in trouble, so he's gonna be the guy carrying the base plate, which is this gigantic 35, 45-pound hunk of metal that he has to carry into battle with him to set the mortar on top of. Which is, in my opinion, the shittiest job. Like, I was a medic, so I had to carry a gun, ammo, all my own personal stuff, and the big heavy aid bag. The only dude I ever looked at in the military out of any other job and been like, at least I'm not that guy, was the private carrying the mortar plate for the mortar crew, because that shit looked like it absolutely sucked. And bear in mind, Guy is 5'3", 126 pounds. But you know what? He does it. He doesn't complain. He's a Marine. He's gonna get the job done. He wants to go off and fight the Japanese. So he graduates, becomes a mortar, goes off, joins his official Marine unit. They're gearing up to deploy, obviously. And while they're getting ready to deploy, they're going through a bunch of training, and they're taking volunteers if anybody in the infantry wants to try out and be part of a scout platoon. Typically, this was like a voluntary only type of thing. These were going to be the best infantry guys that were volunteering to go behind enemy lines in small groups and spy on the enemy, gather intel, do important stuff, which to a 5'3", 126-pound guy being sneaky and not getting caught sounds a lot easier than carrying this gigantic fucking base plate. So he volunteers, he makes the cut.
Yeah, isn't that but so risky a bit? Like, you got recruiters, but that could be like a lot of those people could be gung-ho as well. Like, I want to show something, so I'm going to go first type of shit. I'm sure people there must have been some people like that. So for the people who like actually recruits people, like, it's a challenge how to weed through those people. Like, okay, you're actually going to be a scout, or you're trying to do something, like you're trying to flex or something.
Becomes a scout. From here, they ship off into the Pacific, no idea where they're going, just straight up, get your ass on the boat, we'll tell you what you need to know when you need to know it. They wind up making a stop in Hawaii for a little bit, and then they ship off again, no idea where they're going. After like a month on this ship, they come over the radio and tell them that they are going to be participating in the amphibious landing of Saipan. They are then briefed on the entire situation regarding Saipan. It is mid-1944, the war in the Pacific has switched. Are now winning and beating back the Japanese, and the Japanese have adopted a strategy that they are going to defend Japan itself and a ring of islands around Japan that give Japan enough space so that America won't be able to launch bombing raids on the main island. Ideally, if they can hold these islands and prevent America from launching major bombing raids on mainland Japan, they're going to be able to rebuild their military, rebuild their navy, and get back into the fight and turn the tide in their favor. And for this Japanese defensive plan to work, they absolutely have to hold Saipan because it is one of the only islands big enough for America to land their super fortress, the B-29 bomber, on top of. If America manages to take Saipan, they're going to be able to use it to launch large-scale bombing raids on mainland Japan. This is going to demoralize the Japanese people, as well as allow America to cripple their industrial capability, making it so they can't rebuild their military force. If you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that the taking of Saipan would be the beginning of the end for the Japanese Empire. They know that. America knows that. America's got to have it. Japan can't afford to lose it. This is all-out total war at this point. To make things worse and even more horrific, Japanese propaganda has persuaded the vast majority of Japanese civilians that America is the aggressor in this war. They believe that America started this war for no reason and that they are quite literally cannibalistic barbarians that are coming to eat them. And
How the... This is some next level shit. This started with such a bang, Pearl Harbor. Like, yeah, again, this like back then, like how do you get stories anyway? Otherwise, yeah, it's like there's not some small scale thing that started. Like, who started first? Yeah, Pearl Harbor.
it would be better to die fighting them than to surrender to them.
Hey, you! Wait a second. Look, I'm not gonna eat you. I just...
America's attack on Saipan begins on June 11th, 1944, when they open up with a massive naval bombardment that goes all day and all night for 3 days straight. June 14th, the Marine Corps hits the beach, landing 8,000 men in under 20 minutes, and they are in an intense firefight trying to establish a beachhead for hours. And Guy is one of these 8,000 Marines. As he advances up the beach, he starts to see the dead bodies of Imperial Japanese soldiers, and it almost stops him in his tracks. It starts to mess with him. They look just like the Nisei. They look like his friends back home. And in that moment, he realizes he shouldn't be here. He should be back home drinking with those Russian chicks.
Oh, see, this is like actual, first video from Fighters as far as I remember, where we have, like perspective of a person who's kind of like, let's just say similar as enemy in this way, right? So he actually encountering dead Japanese people just hitting him. Like, this is like my homies back home. Like, you hear about stories all the time where like, okay, where does his allegiance lie? He's like, just like enemy. You really don't think about what mental is going through these people when they're actually doing it and how hard it is to actually go through.
He's got himself way in over his head. He doesn't know if he can kill people that look just like his friends. And he starts to ask himself why. Why are they still fighting? They're losing. They have to know they're losing this war, and they're going to continue to lose until it's over. All of this death is completely unnecessary. Why won't they just quit? And then as Guy's having this existential crisis and panic attack advancing up the beach, he sees his first dead Marine. And this stops him in his tracks, quite literally standing straight up on the beach with machine gun fire flying in both directions, and he's just standing there locked in, staring at this Marine's corpse. His buddy Hurley's in a foxhole nearby, yelling at Guy, "What are you doing? Get down," but it's all just background noise as he's locked in on this Marine's corpse, and he realizes that as much as he wants to save everybody, not everybody's gonna let themselves be saved, and he has to make a decision. If the Japanese aren't gonna quit, he needs to kill them first before they kill him or his other Marines. And with that, Hurley gets out of his foxhole and drags Guy into the foxhole with him and tells him to get his fucking head in the game. From here, Guy, Hurley, and the rest of the Marines fight for 8 hours straight to establish a 1-mile beachhead before the sun sets. By the next morning, any reservations Guy had about killing people that look like his friends are completely gone. He still wants to afford the enemy the opportunity to surrender, but if they don't take it, whatever happens next isn't.
Yeah, luxury of like pick and choose goes away when it's about survival, like point blank, kill or be killed.
His fault, it's on them. At this point, the fighting has died down completely, and Guy's commanding officer, Captain Schwab, says just keep manning the foxholes, keep looking that direction. We're going to be setting up observation posts. We're going to be sending out scouts to try to gather intel so we can start invading further into this island. So Guy kind of sits there for a little bit, and after a while, he starts to get bored, and he starts thinking to himself like, hey, I'm just one Marine. If I slipped away for a little bit, nobody would miss me. And for whatever reason, he decides he's going to slip out of the front line and into no man's land and into enemy territory. And with that, Guy is now advancing into enemy territory by himself, and nobody knows that he's gone, which is an incredibly stupid decision, but he's an 18-year-old kid, and that's what 18-year-old kids do. As he's making his way into the jungle, he comes across a Japanese trench. Inside of it is what appears to be 3 dead Japanese soldiers that have been hit by some kind of indirect fire. So he slips past that trench and he figures, okay, there's obviously going to be more trenches along the same line of area. Like, this is a defensive line. So he advances a little bit further and then loops back around and heads back towards the Marine line. Sure enough, he comes up behind a Japanese trench with 3 very alive Japanese soldiers manning the trench, pointing towards the Marine line, not expecting anybody to come up from behind them. Guy, doing exactly what he told himself he was going to do, affording the enemy the chance to surrender, he sneaks right up to their trench before yelling in Japanese, "Turn around with your hands up," and sure enough, one of the Japanese soldiers wings around with his gun leveled at him, and Guy drops him immediately. The other two immediately drop their weapons and raise their hands. Guy then communicates to him in Japanese, I'm not gonna hurt you. If you surrender, let me walk you back to our line. I'm not gonna have to kill you. And they agree, and that's exactly what Guy does. As he's walking back with the Japanese soldiers in front of him, he has them take their white undershirts off and wave them over their head as a flag of surrender as he's walking behind them with his gun leveled at him. As he's walking, he realizes he just killed a guy and he didn't feel anything. He didn't feel pride in killing the enemy. He didn't feel remorse. He didn't feel bad. He wasn't making a decision. The other guy made the decision. He afforded him.
Yeah, when you're surrounded by dead bodies and there's death all around, that is what you're doing. You're fighting, and there are enemies fighting. There is no civilization to be found. If there was civilization, it's no longer there anymore. It's battlefield now. World War II was so fucking intense, like too many dead people. Like, yeah, I can see that happening. Like, at this point, nothing's in my hand. Yeah, people die, I guess. People die by my hand as well. This is happening. That's completely different state of mind that we can't sit here and process it unless we're there. That's just fucked up.
Him the opportunity to surrender, and he didn't take it. Guy was not the decision maker in this scenario. He was simply the consequences of making the wrong decision, and because of that, he felt nothing. As they approach the Marine line, they obviously get spotted as the Marines start yelling, holy shit, look what Guy brought in. They know it's Guy because he's the only Marine that's 5'3", bringing in 2 prisoners alive, which at this point in the war was absolutely unprecedented. The Japanese never surrendered. How in the hell did 5'3", 120-pound Guy sneak behind enemy lines and convince 2 Japanese Imperial soldiers to surrender?
Big balls, huh? Big gone, huh?
Guy brings the prisoners in, hands them off to the chain of command. He's on cloud 9. He thinks he's the shit. He just did something awesome that almost nobody else had ever done. And then Captain Schwab comes up and starts chewing his fucking ass, essentially saying, yeah, I'm glad it worked out. Also, that was stupid as fuck. Don't ever do that again. And if you do, I'm gonna have you court-martialed and send your ass to prison.
Makes
Do
sense.
not do that. Guy's kind of all in his feels about it. He still feels like he did something incredible. He should be getting rewarded, and instead he's getting his ass chewed. But again, this is how an 18-year-old kid thinks, so he's just kind of like, whatever, fine, I'll stay put like you told me to. So for the next 2 days, Guy stays put. Both nights, the Japanese launch massive bonsai charges towards the Marine line, ultimately failing each time, resulting in hundreds, if not thousands, of dead Japanese soldiers. And the entire thing just drives Guy absolutely nuts. Why? Why are you just running straight into our...
Oh my god, this is a story of a guy who's like love Japanese culture and has a Japanese friends actually fighting Japanese and realizing what that Japanese culture and their like pride means and what is not surrendering means, the way Japanese were in World War II. Like slowly it will sink to him. Like doesn't matter, they'll fight to the last person. Like imagine that process as an 18-year-old.
Machine gun fire, desperately trying to take one of us with you. It's so much unnecessary death. He just wants him to give up. So Guy decides, fuck it, I'm gonna go out on my own again. He waits till dark and then he sneaks off and he's crawling through enemy territory and he comes across a dead Marine. And this Marine had the M1 carbine. Guy has been carrying the M1 Grand, big, huge, heavy rifle. It's like 10 pounds. He wants this lighter, smaller carbine. He's a small guy, so he decides to swap it out. Now he's got an M1 carbine with a bunch of magazines in his pockets. From here, he keeps
Whole hour to swap out the gun. Which game has that as whole hour? Is that Call of Duty? I don't know.
He's crawling through enemy territory. It's dark. He can't really see shit. And then he smells Japanese food. So he follows the smell of the Japanese food and he follows it and he follows it. And then he starts to hear muffled Japanese voices and he follows those and he follows those until he comes to the mouth of this big military dugout. At this point, it's still dark. He realizes he can't engage right now. If he does manage to take some prisoners, he's not going to be able to keep track of them in the dark. So he decides he's going to sit there, post it up, and wait until the sun comes up. From here, he finds a good hiding spot near the dugout hole where he can still listen and hear what they're talking about. And as he's listening to him that night, he hears them talking about how these stupid American devils don't understand that there's a mighty Japanese flotilla coming that's going to reinforce the Japanese and completely wipe the Marines off the map. And Guy realizes that these Japanese soldiers aren't getting any communications. They have no idea that the Japanese Navy flotilla that they're talking about has been completely destroyed by US Navy Task Force 58 in what's known as the Marianas Turkey Shoot, where we sank 3 of their aircraft carriers, a ton of their escorts, and downed hundreds of Japanese planes. That chunk of reinforcements that they're relying on doesn't even exist anymore, and they have no idea. At this point, Guy realizes, okay, well, they're not gonna willingly...
Is it because Japanese deliberately didn't tell their own soldiers, like the emperor didn't tell their soldiers, like, okay, let's hold out that information, let's think about it. or whatever, like, like whatever thing they can make up, like, let's not tell them right now. That must have happened, man.
Surrender because they don't understand to the degree of which they're losing. In fact, they think they're winning. So he's going to have to be a little bit more persuasive when the sun comes up. So the sun comes up, he grabs himself a frag grenade, pulls the pin, lets the spoon go, counts to 3, throws it in the dugout, immediately grabs another frag grenade, pulls the pin, lets the spoon go, counts to 3, throws it in the dugout, grabs a smoke grenade, pulls the pin, lets go of the spoon, throws it in the dugout, posts up on his rock aimed at the dugout entrance, and starts yelling to the Japanese, come out with your hands up. And then somebody comes walking through the smoke with their hands up. Okay, good, this is great. And then another guy, okay, even better. And then another guy, okay, that's pretty good. And then another, and another, and another, and pretty soon, he's got 12 fucking Imperial Japanese soldiers standing there with his hands up, way more than he anticipated. He's got a gun with 15 bullets, 12 prisoners that probably want to kill him if they get the opportunity.
I was about to say that, like, okay, that gun is not some like AK-47 or something. It's not gonna be bam, 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 bam. 12. Like, what if they charge him, thinking like he can't kill all of us? Like, that's some risky shit.
And he is in way over his head. He then collects himself and is like, okay, fake it till you make it. And a stern, assertive voice tells him they're completely surrounded. If they make a move, all the Marines in the tree line that you can't see, don't look for them. They're there, I promise. If you make a move, they're all gonna shoot you. Just fucking cooperate and listen to me. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm gonna escort you back to the lines. We'll feed you. We'll take care of you. Your POWs, you're not gonna be harmed. He then asks him if there's anybody else in the bunker. The Japanese soldiers tell him only the 4 dead bodies from the grenade blast. And he's like, okay, cool. Here's the deal. Raise your hands over your head and start running that way. I'm gonna run behind you. Guy wants to get the fuck out of there before they realize that he's literally just one dude by himself. So they all take off running. Guy's running behind him with his rifle raised at him. And in a matter of minutes, they break through the jungle and they can see the Marine Corps lines. And Guy's like, oh shit, thank God, we are way closer than I thought we were. Apparently low crawling through the jungle in pitch black, following nothing but smells, kind of makes you lose your sense of direction. They break through, they get to the lines. Guy hands off these 12 new prisoners to the chain of command, and then Captain Schwab comes up and is like, Guy, what the fuck? He's like, what did I tell you? I told you if you did that again, I was gonna court-martial you. But here's the deal. The other 2 prisoners have been interrogated and they gave us a bunch of valuable intel that's gonna save a bunch of Marine lives. And these 12 are gonna provide even more valuable intel. So I don't know what the fuck to do with you. And the entire thing just kind of turns into like, I'm not gonna tell you you can do this, but also if you do it and you're successful, you're probably not gonna get in trouble. It's kind of the whole, I'm just gonna look the other way thing. So now that he's kind of...
It just makes sense, man. This guy speaks Japanese language fluently and he's doing all this shit that most people are not doing it. At this point, you're like, your hand is tied, right? He's basically like your MVP at this point. Like, you can't remove him. He's doing a lot of shit.
Got the green light, he goes out the next night, and now it's a whole thing. Like, the Marines are having betting pools, betting on how many prisoners Guy's gonna bring in next, like it's March Madness. And his buddy Hurley is either crazy or he has an extreme amount of faith in his best friend, or he did the math and was like, okay, well, he captured 2 the first night, then 12. He's probably gonna catch 50 the next time. I mean, if the pattern continues. So,
oh my god, he's becoming a celebrity at a level that people are actually like betting shit like that. Oh, I bet he's gonna capture this many. And the title I just saw, it's 1,000. In the end of all this, he's gonna capture 1,000. Like, damn, that's next level shit. Man, okay. Shouldn't he, like, he speaks Japanese, right? Like, isn't there a way to communicate to other Japanese in the island? Like, okay, the flotilla or whatever that you're relying on is not coming, they're destroyed. But then again, why would they believe him, right? Like, okay, he's just lying at that point. Makes sense.
So he puts a bunch of money in the pot that Guy is going to capture 50 enemy soldiers by himself next.
That's very interesting. How'd you come up with that guess?
Guess. That ain't no guess. That's what it's gonna be.
So Guy goes out, does the same thing again, tracks down a spot where the enemies are going to be, and he's right up against this mountain, and there's this cave complex, waits there all night, listens, observes, and then when the dawn comes, he goes out and he orders them to surrender. And at this point, he's getting it dialed in. He figures out that if he yells into the caves with like a condescending tone, it kind of demoralizes the Japanese soldiers because they're very status oriented in Japanese culture. So if they're getting talked to condescendingly, it gives them that feeling in the pit of their stomach, like, oh shit, why is he so confident? He must know something I don't. I must.
But yeah, like, Japanese are so pride driven. Isn't that like, that would piss them off more? Like, fuck it, I might die, but I'm not taking this shit. Right? Like, this could go either way.
already lost. So he's yelling into this cave in the condescending tone like, you're completely surrounded, all our guns are aimed at this cave complex, you guys have 5 minutes to come out or I'm gonna have the flamethrowers come in here and barbecue all your asses alive. He's like negotiating. He's really getting this thing dialed in. He appeals to their Bushido code of honor. He's like, look, you guys have already lost. There's no point in dying, depriving your wives and kids of a father for your code of honor. Just give it up, come out, surrender. I'm gonna feed you, I'm gonna take care of you. You're not gonna be mistreated. Just end this nonsense. And sure enough, dudes start coming out with their hands up. Not just Imperial soldiers, but some civilians too. 52 people come out of this cave complex. Guy probably internally shitting himself because he doesn't even have 52 bullets on him, more than likely. He can't handle this situation, but he's got confidence and hey, fake it till you make it, right? So he's like, hey, you're completely surrounded. You try anything, you're gonna get shot. Here's the deal, take your white undershirt off. We're gonna wave that above our head like a white flag so you don't get shot approaching the line because I'm marching an entire fucking company of people towards the line that are all Japanese. So yeah, grab your white shirts, start waving them, and we're gonna run that way. And with that, Guy brings in 52 POWs, hands them over to the chain of command, and he is essentially given the official green light to be a lone wolf going out doing his maverick shit on his own. The chain of command is now not only looking the other way, but they're basically endorsing it as—
There you go, tutorial's over. Now your main missions as a protagonist begins. There you go. This is start of a game.
much as they possibly can, and Captain Schwab gives him the nickname the Pied Piper of Saipan. And Hurley—
oh my god, yeah. He said about Pied Piper in the start of like that cartoon thing. Like, I even forgot that. Yeah, that is what he's doing, right? Like, he's just like getting all the people out of holes. Like, damn.
wins the bet pool because nobody thought he was going to be bringing in more than 50 prisoners because that would be insane. Fast forward, Guy goes out on another solo mission, and at this point, it's basically just rinse and repeat. He's got this whole thing dialed in. He goes out, finds an enemy cave or an enemy dugout, waits till the morning, calls in, hey, come out with your hands up. You're completely surrounded. No point in dying for your Bushido code of honor. You've already lost. We'll treat you with dignity and respect. You're honorable fighters. Yada, yada, yada. Unfortunately, on this occasion, a single Japanese soldier comes walking out of the cave with his rifle shouldered. Guy immediately drops him and then yells back into the cave, I said come out with your hands up. Like, guys, this simple instructions. I really need you to follow them. Sure enough, 12 Japanese
yeah, like that, like you can't do nothing at that point. Like, if you can't follow this instruction, even by mistake, like, Guy can't take risks there. What if he just, it literally split second to shoot somebody if you have a gun in your hand. Literally bang, that's it, if you're close enough. So he can't take that risk.
soldiers come out with their hands up. They start making their way back to the Marine Corps lines. Guy isn't even having them run anymore. He's just having them walk with their hands up. He's gotten more confidence. He knows they're not going to turn on him. He's really starting to feel like he's got the situation under control. And as they're making their way back to the
But that might bite him in the ass, right? Like, that's probably going to happen.
Marine Corps lines, they go through this field, and in this field, there's an ox tied up to a plow. And Guy instructs one of the Japanese guys, like, hey, go get a hold of that ox. Everybody else hop on the cart, and has one Japanese guy escort the ox while he has a gun pointed at the whole lot of them on this trailer. In his head, he's thinking like, that way, if they make a move, I can just unload on the trailer. They're all nice and condensed. I'll be able to take out everybody. But when he approaches the line, the Marines are all laughing their ass off because now Guy is bringing back prisoners and POWs
and
on
food.
a fucking ox-guided cart like it's the Oregon Trail. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Everything doesn't always go according to plan, because one of the next times he goes out, he almost dies, but he doesn't almost die from the enemy. He almost dies from the Marines. He's out in the jungle looking for enemies, and then all of a sudden he just starts taking in—
You know how to do the second part later. Yeah, so far the story has been insane to me. How one Japanese speaking person who's like just completely in love with Japanese culture coming to realization of this war and actually being the pivotal thing, because he speaks so fluently and he has balls, let's just say, more balls than the other, I guess, that actually he's getting prisoners of wars like that, like weeding out one by one. Like, you don't know what butterfly effects things have. Like, if he didn't do this, if he wasn't there, who knows what would have changed? Because you could never know, right? This 1,000 prisoner of wars, if they weren't captured like this, like, who knows where that would have gone? And this island is like Frederickson said, it's instrumental, it's crucial for the planes to land and bombings to begin. Like, maybe like shit would have escalated much worse, right? And yeah, like if they like, I'm guessing nukes would have been made eventually, even if Japanese were like attacking USA equally rather than losing. But this time America probably would have bombed multiple cities other than just two. right? More than 2. So that would have been even disastrous. So you don't know what butterfly effect things have. So like, yeah, every single story is like this instrumental. Right, well, I'll see you next time.